Use the most secure password in the world, capital A. Hi everyone and welcome. This is the place to be if you just started with Linux. But even if you haven't seen Linux before, but you're just curious, then this video series is the right start for you. Here you will learn everything you need to know about Linux, starting from installing, configuring, using Docker, Nginx, fail2ban, webmin, DNS, DHCP, and much more. We will also explore different flavors like Red Hat and also clients like Mint. But first of all, we're going to install a Linux server, and I want this to be our server. So if you have any suggestions on what to install or configure further on the server, then just let me know in the comments and I will try to build in your ideas in the next videos. So let's begin with the installation of Ubuntu Server. I want this to be as easy as possible, so even if you don't have an extra server, home server at home, I still want you to be able to explore Linux and to be able to install a Linux server. And the easiest way to do so is if you have a Windows computer, then you just hit the control center in here, the control panel, sorry, that's in English. And then you're going to look for features. If you spell it right. And then check for turn Windows features on or off. And in here, you're going to look for Hyper-V. That's a Windows program that's going to enable you to run virtual machines on your computer. So you just tick it on, hit OK. It's going to install something. Afterwards, it's going to ask you to restart your computer. But once that's finished, then you can open the Hyper-V Manager. And before we do anything here, we need the installation files for Ubuntu. So we're just going to Google them. You can just Google Ubuntu Server download. And it's already from the official ubuntu.com website. Right now it's Ubuntu 24.04.1 LTS, that stands for long-term support. You just hit download. It will download in your downloads folder. I already prepared that. And it's going to be a .iso file. Okay, so once that's finished downloading, you can just go to your Hyper-V Manager, click New, say you want a, oops, you can't see that, I'm in the way. Here, you want a new virtual machine. Just put that in the middle. You're just going to hit next. You're going to name it. Let's name it YouTube. You don't have to put an extra path in here. I just like to do that because I like to keep my virtual machines somewhere else. For Ubuntu Server, use generation 1. Otherwise, it won't be able to boot. You can try with generation 2. If it's not working, just delete it and then start all over again and use generation 1. For the next part is going to ask you for how much memory you want to assign it, how much RAM. 4069, that's 4 gigabytes. That's more than enough for what we're planning to do. If at any point later we need some more RAM, it's no problem at all. We can always assign more RAM or even more CPU if we need to. So hit next. The next one is network configuration. In here we're just going to use the default switch. So our Ubuntu server has internet through your Windows PC. So this is just a short summary of the virtual hard drive. That's the name, VHDX. and where the location is going to be. For the size, we can hit it with 500 gigabytes. Even if you don't have 500 gigabytes left on your PC or wherever, it doesn't matter. It's just, it would technically be able to use that. It will show that in the virtual machine. Of course, you're going to run on errors if you don't have space on your host machine anymore, but it doesn't matter if you don't even have this space left here in the first place. So hit next. This one, we're going to use install an operating system from bootable CD. And in here, we're going to have an image file, the ISO. And this one, you're going to use the one that you downloaded from the Ubuntu page. Maybe it's in your downloads folder. I always keep them in a special folder here, my ISO files. So just hit open and say next. As a little summary, and then you're going to hit finish, and it will create your virtual machine for you. Just put this up a little bit. So here right now, that's the name of your machine. And if you double click it, it will open a little window saying the machine is turned off. You can hit start. And just like that, our little virtual machine is booting. And in here, we're going to say we want to install Ubuntu Server. Just hit enter. There's a lot of text going on here. You don't need to read all of it. It's just Ubuntu Server booting and preparing for the installation. Okay, so once this screen shows up, we need to do some configuration for it before it can install Ubuntu Server. So here you can use your up and down keys on your keyboard and your enter button on your keyboard as well. So first, choose your language. I'm just going to go for English. The next one, down here at the bottom, you see that, if I go here, you can continue without updating, but I always recommend to update to the new installer. Hit enter. Okay, for the next part, it's going to ask us for the keyboard layout. Even though I'm doing my videos in English, my keyboard layout is actually German. So I'm going to set it to German. You choose the one that you have. In here, you don't change anything at all. You just want the Ubuntu server. You don't want it minimized, and you don't want any additional options. Sorry. Hit done with enter. Next one's going to ask for the IP address. It would be possible to put in manual IP address, but in order to keep it easy and simple, we're just going to let it be on automatic in DHCP. So it will get an automatic IP address from our DHCP server. In most cases, that's going to be your router. I don't use a proxy in my network, so just going to hit done. In here, you don't need to change anything in there. So let's just hit done. I will continue anyway, even though it's not done yet checking, so I know it's going to work. So in here, we're going to use the entire disk. So we don't need to set anything else in here, just done. In here, I don't want to change anything at all. There's just the different partitions on the hard drive. So just hit done. There's just a little info box that you can't change anything in here after it started. So we want to continue. Now it's going to ask for our name. Let's just hit it with YouTube. Then the server name is going to be YouTube as well. We're going to pick a username. I'm just going to use user, and then it's going to ask us for a password. Let's use the most secure password in the world. Capital A, B, C, D, exclamation point, 2, 3, 4. Why is it the most secure password in the world? Because it got letters, it got numbers, it's 8 digits long, it got special characters, it got a capital letter. So it fits the profile. I'm just kidding, by the way. Don't use that as your password. Hit done. In here, you don't want to change anything at all. You don't want to use Ubuntu Pro. Just hit continue. And this one is going to be important. You do want to install the OpenSSH server, so we can SSH into this server later on without using the Hyper-V manager. So just put the X here either with enter or with your spacebar. Hit done. In this screen, you don't need to tick any boxes in here as well. Those are just snaps that you can install while it's installing the OS, but we don't need those at all. Here, for example, there is a, where do you see it? Docker and also a Nextcloud. We're going to install them by ourselves. Just hit done, and now it's going to install the Ubuntu server. This is going to take a while, so we'll speed through this. Once it says on the top installation complete, and down here you have the option to reboot now. You're done with the installation, you can just tell it to reboot now. It will obviously reboot the virtual machine and tell us it failed unmounting the CD-ROM, but that's okay. Just hit enter and the Ubuntu server will start rebooting. Okay, so it's done booting. So now it's going to ask us for a login for the username. Ours is user, and the password, obviously the most secure password in the world, capital A, B, C, D, exclamation point, 2, 3, 4. Hit enter, and we are in. So what you do first after installing a Ubuntu server is you always update the repositories, apt update, and it's going to give us an error because permission denied, which is completely normal and okay, because for an update command, since we're not the root user, we need to hit it with sudo apt update. It's going to ask for our password. Hit enter, and now it's updating it. Now it updated the repositories. It says 89 packages can be upgraded. Let's do that too. Sudo apt upgrade. Hit it with a -y and enter. The -y is just going to confirm to install it, because if you don't put -y, it's going to ask you if you're really sure you want to install it, and you need to type in y and then enter with the -y. It's already knows our answer to that question. It might take a while, but not as long as installing the whole server. Okay, it is done. grading. So now we want to know what's the IP address of this Ubuntu server. So we can use SSH in the command line to use it. In Windows it's ipconfig. In Ubuntu it's ifconfig. Where am I typing? ifconfig. Hit enter. It told us it can't find the command ifconfig. It's no problem at all because we can sudo apt install net-tools. Enter. It will install it and add the command ifconfig to the server. So now if we say ifconfig, it's going to tell us the IP address 172.22.182.183. And if we go in the command prompt and just type in SSH user at 172.22.182.183, hit enter. Since we haven't connected to this server before yet, it's going to ask if we want to do that. So we hit it with yes. Now it's going to wait for the password, which again, most secure password in the world, ABCD 1 2 3 4. Enter. And just like this, we are in. So we don't need this one, we don't need this one. We can just use an SSH connection to be inside our Ubuntu server on our Windows computer. Congratulations! You have successfully installed your Ubuntu server in Hyper-V. And as I said before, if you have any suggestions on what you want to install on our server, then just let me know in the comments. I will consider them and I will try to incorporate them in the next videos. What we're going to do next is maybe introduce some basic commands. And definitely we're going to explore the VI improved in particular, and also tmux. And then we're going to install some nice stuff like fail2ban and web server and Docker and much more to come. So if you don't want to miss any of that, please leave a like, hit subscribe, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.